the skull, has had a place in the history of art since the earliest drawing of human expression, as a reminder to appreciate the gift of life. Hello tarantula lovers, I'm Alex and you're watching Tarantula Haven. Before I get started today, shameless self-promotion! If you missed your opportunity to get our Tarantula Haven face mask, they're now restocked in our Etsy store. But wait, there's more! Now we have a pokey design in purple and light blue, and a cute confetti spider design created by my daughter Elise. They come in adjustable paracord and soft elastic, and they have a wire in the bridge of the nose that adjusts to your face so that your glasses won't fog up. We have limited supplies, so get yours before they're gone. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, there's something that I did want to share with you last week, and I completely forgot about it, but I have joined a club, and I don't think it's a very good club. I've joined the club of people who've been tagged by their tarantulas. It happened while I was feeding my tarantulas, and I pulled out my Brachypelma auratum, which is about a 1.5-inch sling, and while I was feeding it, it decided that it wanted to run out of the enclosure, and it ended up crawling down to the floor. So I was chasing it around trying to catch it, and it got under my chair and it started going toward my closet to where my incubator is, and it ended up crawling underneath it. So I missed it completely. It just took off really fast. So I had to carefully pull out my incubator so that I wouldn't smash it. And when I did, I saw it crawl out from under it and into the closet, and it was starting to go along the baseboard. So I pulled it out far enough to where I could get back there, and I was using its enclosure to try to catch it and kind of, push it in there, and it kept going around or crawling over and so on. So finally it was getting to the point where it was going to go behind a bookcase that I have back there, and if it did, I knew I would have to pull out all kinds of stuff and it would just be a mess. So I just did what I figured would be the best thing, and I stuck my hand out and it crawled onto my hand, and at first it just kind of crawled around, and then it came up to my finger on my index finger, and then it stopped. And it was almost like I knew that it was going to happen because I felt its grip tighten on my finger, and then next thing I know, his fangs went down, hind legs went up in the air, and its abdomen did as well. It looked like a little jumping spider, the way they latch onto their prey and just kind of do a little Superman. So it was actually pretty cool. And once it did that, it just felt like a little pinch. And I took it and I put it in its enclosure once it relaxed, and I closed it up. But almost, I guess a couple seconds after that, I started feeling a burning sensation on my index finger. So it burned probably for about 5 minutes. And then after that, it subsided a little bit. And maybe about 10 minutes later, it kind of went to like a little dull ache. And then after that, about 15 minutes later, it was just completely gone and I didn't feel anything at all. I went to sleep the next day, no effects and no feeling that, I had anything wrong with my finger whatsoever. So kind of embarrassed that I joined that club because I had not been tagged by any of my tarantulas up until this point. Brachypelma auratum, who would have thought? But yeah, that little sucker just latched on. And at the same time, it's kind of cool to have joined that club because now I've got a little bit of that experience. Fortunately, it wasn't an old world tarantula. I probably would not have handled it the same way if it was, because I wouldn't put myself in that situation. And for those of you that are wondering whether or not I am done with tarantulas or worried that I'm done with tarantulas, because I have had inquiries, I am not. The deal with my wife was that if I had ever been bitten by an old world tarantula, then that would be the end of my tarantula keeping days. So fortunately, I am not a member of that club. Hopefully not ever, but I have joined the club of being tagged. And usually when something happens, something eventful like that, the tarantula usually earns itself a name. So that tarantula is now known as Chomper. Today's tarantula in the Halloween species showcase is the Ephebopus murinus, or the skeleton tarantula. I couldn't pass up doing a species with the word skeleton in its name for Halloween. So congratulations to those of you on Instagram and on my Facebook page that guessed correctly. Yes, it is the skeleton tarantula. So let's get on with it. I present to you Ephebopus murinus, commonly known as the skeleton-legged tarantula or the skeleton tarantula. So called because of the striation on the legs that give it a skeletal appearance. This species is endemic to northern Brazil, Suriname, and French Guiana. They are a New World fossorial species living in a tropical, humid environment, so they can be considered a moisture-dependent species. In the wild, they make their burrows at the bases of trees or rocks, so I'll usually put a piece of cork bark and a starter burrow for them to begin their burrow. But sometimes mine does what she wants and has preferred to make her burrow in the corner of the enclosure. They have a very striking appearance and can often be confused with the Ephebopus murinus and the Ephebopus albostriatus because they share similar markings. Females can live to be about 15 years old, while males have a much shorter 4-year lifespan approximately. This species is shy and skittish, preferring to retreat to their burrow when threatened. When out in the open, they are quick to throw up a threat posture and slap, behaving more like an Old World species rather than New World. Murinus, like many New World terrestrials, do possess urticating hairs, but they are somewhat unique in that they don't have them on their abdomen, but rather on the pedipalps and forelegs. They flick these urticating hairs forward by rubbing their palps against their chelicera or flicking their legs against each other, similar to us snapping our fingers. Although this is a defense mechanism, in my years of keeping this one, she has rarely flicked hairs, and I believe she would be more likely to bite than threaten. I keep mine bare bones, no pun intended, in a medium critter keeper with deep substrate. 4 to 6 inches is preferable. I had kept her in a larger critter keeper, but considered it to be a waste of space because she burrowed on one side and didn't venture much beyond that, and it made it difficult to keep the humidity up in the enclosure. However, now that I'm experimenting with bioactive substrate, I think I'll put her in a more naturalistic setting for aesthetic purposes. Although this is a fossorial species, you will see them out from time to time at night, usually excavating or webbing around the mouth of the burrow. They have an interesting habit in that they seem to defecate in one area of the enclosure away from the burrow. That side will usually end up caked in feces and you'll have to clean it from time to time. I keep her enclosure on the top shelf of my rack, and I noticed something strange on the wall next to the enclosure and realized that she had projectile pooped out of the enclosure and decorated my wall. Murinus are great eaters and will often take prey right up until just before their next molt. You can often coax them out of their burrows with food if you feel like getting a glimpse of them. Even though they can be defensive, I would recommend them as a beginner simply because I got mine as a beginner and have not had any issues. This species is hardy and forgiving as far as husbandry is concerned. Although considered moisture dependent, I've kept mine on the drier side and pretty much overfill the water bowl once a week, only dampening one side of the enclosure. But if you're looking for a display tarantula, this will not be a good fit. Overall, this species will not be a great display pet and is by no means docile or handleable. But if you're looking for a beautiful, unique, and hardy tarantula that you get to enjoy from time to time, the Ephebopus murinus can be a great addition to your collection. There you have it, the Ephebopus murinus or skeleton tarantula. Such a fascinating thing, the way they've developed those urticating hairs on their pedipalps. I wonder if it has anything to do with them being fossorial, and most of the time only their front legs are sticking out of their burrow. So if anything comes at them, they can, I guess, defend themselves that way. Pretty cool thing, and I think there are others in the Ephebopus genus that have developed the same thing. So just an interesting feature that makes them unique from other species. And before I go, I'd like to thank my Patreon supporters, Cindy Ward, Angela Hall, Carol Ward, and Carol Kennick. And new this week, I've got Natasha Malpas, what a beautiful name, John Watson, and Eric Alexandra G.E. Nikolai, and Richard Stewart of the Tarantula Collective. What an honor. What a surprise. And thank you so much, everybody, for your support. I am humbled by your generosity. And that does it for me tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. If you want to support this channel, I have a Teespring store where I sell Tarantula Haven merchandise. We also have an Etsy store where we sell our masks, among other things. And if you want to become a patron, I do have a Patreon. Any support, great or small, is very much appreciated. All of the links are going to be down in the description. Until next time, keep loving them tarantulas.